Coronavirus coverage now. A highly contagious spinoff of the Omicron variant called BA2 is gaining steam in the U.S. It's caused more than 1 in 3 new COVID-19 cases in the U.S. last week. Researchers believe several Omicron subvariants have a mutation that helps the virus bind more tightly to our cells and hide from the antibodies that try to block the virus from infecting us. Symptoms for these variants also show up quicker.
The period of when you become infected with the virus to when you start showing symptoms with these Omicron subvariants is pretty quick. It's around 2 to 4 days.
To combat these subvariants, FDA officials say vaccines could be updated yearly. Decisions should be made by this summer on who would be eligible for another shot this upcoming fall. And while more and more cases are being announced, nearly 60% of the U.S. population has had COVID, and more than 100 million people have been fully vaccinated and boosted. But now many are reaching the tail end of their protection. Ashar Qureshi looks at what long-term studies are showing about COVID antibodies moving forward. The investigation into the death of 23-year-old mother Emily Rogers intensifies today. Milwaukee police say she was found dead in a wooded area in St. Francis Thursday afternoon. Police have reason to believe Rogers died by homicide and currently have multiple suspects in custody. Tony Atkins will have a full update at 5. Today is Mental Health Awareness Month, and a new survey of LGBTQ plus youth says nearly half seriously considered suicide in the past year. The survey was conducted by the LGBTQ suicide intervention group called the Trevor Project. According to this survey, about 45% of LGBTQ respondents considered suicide in the past 12 months. 73% of respondents also reported symptoms of generalized anxiety disorder, and 58% had symptoms of a major depressive disorder. Now, to give you more perspective on suicide here locally, Wisconsin ranked 14th in the country when it came to suicide in 2021. Across the world, suicide is the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 19-year-olds. This afternoon, 100 black and brown boys from MPS held a group discussion on mental health. Our Tony Atkins was at that discussion, and we'll have a full report on the news at 5.
Staying with us, I'm Julia Fellow. Milwaukee police and community leaders just invited people to join them on a community walk starting at the corner of 5th and Rogers. It's following the shooting death of a 13-year-old girl right near that same corner. Her 10-year-old sister was also shot but is recovering. Organizers say trust between residents and police has broken down, and today's walk is a chance to restore that relationship and let voices be heard. Bruce Harrison is at the walk and spoke with community leaders. He will have a full report in the next half hour. In Waukesha, a 14-year-old is accused of carjacking and then sexually assaulting an 87-year-old woman. He has been charged as an adult in court. Police say Khalil Perry allegedly assaulted the woman at knife point back in November outside the Waukesha Library. This was his first time in court. Perry is also a relative of Mayor Cavalier Johnson of Milwaukee. Johnson addressed the incident back in December and said he hoped for full healing and recovery from everyone affected. He also said if these allegations are true, his relative should be held accountable.
The Milwaukee Bucks lost their final game of the regular season today in Cleveland. Because the first round of the playoffs starts later this week, Coach Mike Budenholzer chose to rest all of his starters, leaving backup players like Javon Carter and Giannis's older brother Thanasis to lead this one. Kevin Love had a big game for the Cavs with 8 three-pointers. The Bucks did whittle a 40-point deficit to 12 in the fourth quarter, but ultimately fell to the Cavs 115-133. The Bucks will have home court advantage to start the first round of the playoffs, and you can now buy tickets for those first round games. We just don't know who they'll play yet, but we do know the Bucks will either be the second or third seed, depending on how the Celtics do tonight. The Brewers took home their first win of the season today in a back-and-forth battle with the Chicago Cubs, making sure they didn't get swept in Chicago. Freddie Peralta dished out 6 strikeouts in 4 innings and let up 3 runs. Christian Yelich grabbed 2 big hits, 1 run and 1 RBI, and pinch hitter Mike Brosseau made the biggest difference with a home run in the 7th inning. Let's Let's take a look out at American Family Field now. The Brew Crew's home opener is this Thursday. They will take on another one of their division rivals, the St. Louis Cardinals. The Brewers first face off against the Orioles in Baltimore, though, before coming back to AmFam for that home opener. And of course, none of us can wait for that. The final day of the 2022 Masters is nearing its end. American and current world #1 Scottie Scheffler currently sits in first at 12 under with 4 holes to play. Rory McIlroy has soared into second place with 7 under. Tiger Woods ended his roller coaster weekend of golf in 47th place. He shot 13 over par in his first major in nearly 14 months. More local news now, and something to look forward to. Cedarburg's Strawberry Festival is back next month after being canceled through the pandemic. That event typically attracts more than 100,000 people to Cedarburg with live music, artist exhibits, and of course, strawberry dishes and drinks of all kinds. We're talking strawberry bratwurst, anything else you can think of. So mark your calendars for June 25th and 26th. Nothing like strawberries on vanilla ice cream or custard, in my opinion. And speaking of which, a Milwaukee institution, Leon's Frozen Custard on the South Side, celebrating a big milestone. 80 years in business today. Yep, they opened in 1942. So you can get 80-cent cones of vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, or my personal favorite from Leon's, butter pecan all day. Yeah,